Okay. Request approval for a decision to add Chapter 315 to the Village Code that prohibits single-use carry-out bags at retail and eating establishments. We'd had the public hearing. A couple of May 11th. And the record was closed as of June 1st. At that hearing, at the end, I had said to us that I'd made, we held our decision open, just based upon the fact that we needed to take a look at the law. I'm going to ask, and this piece of legislation, I'm going to ask Village Attorney Egan to go over the legislation itself and kind of refer to the changes that may or may not have been made today.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recall that we had the hearing, just lay out the procedure of where we've been. On May 11th, we had the hearing. At that day, the board voted to close the public hearing and keep the record open to June 1st for written comment. Just for the purposes of fairness and procedural integrity, any comments after June 1st will not be considered. Any letters received prior to June 1st have been received by the clerk and distributed. You did receive some prior letters before June 1st, correct? Okay, thank you. Proposed changes to the plastic bag law was after the public hearing and receiving and reviewing the public comment that was heard that night, as well as additional discussions had with Trustee Keyes, and Trustee Keyes, I'm sure is going to speak to it with regard to his committee. The proposal was to change the law to continue the prohibition on plastic bags. Well, this is the proposal. The board will vote on whether the proposal is tonight. But the resolution and local law as drafted will continue the prohibition of plastic bags with two significant exceptions, changes that were made to the previous law. One was that the plastic bag, single-use plastic bag prohibition was across the board. In this case, and having heard the testimony, we can kind of refer to it as the live fish exception. When there was a circumstance that was, as a maritime village, we should be sensitive to, when people pick up live bait, perhaps frozen bait, those kind of conditions were in a tough spot when they needed to have an exception. So an exception was proposed that any plastic bags that would transport, produce, prepared food, bulk items from a produce, deli, bulk food, or other meat department within the store to the point of sale is a continued permissible exception for a single-use plastic bag. That whole prescription medication dispensed from a pharmacy continues as an exception. To hold live animals such as fish or insects is a new exception. And to segregate food or merchandise that could damage or contaminate other food or merchandise when placed together in a reusable bag or recycled paper bag. So that is an additional new exception when there is a potential for damage or contamination, say for instance in a frozen section item up against something else. The law will now read that no retail establishment shall provide a single-use or public eating establishment shall provide a single-use carry-out bag to a customer. Period. A retail establishment or public eating establishment may provide customers recycled paper bags. And recycled paper bags are defined in the code as bags that contain no old-growth fiber and a minimum of 40% post-consumer recycled content, is 100% recyclable, and must have, in a highly visible manner on the outside of the bag, the words reusable and recyclable, as well as the name of the manufacturer. You may use paper bags. The previous proposal added a cost that would have required the merchant to charge the customer for the use of that recyclable paper bag. The proposal tonight eliminates that charge to the customer, so that a retail establishment may use or food establishment may use recyclable paper bags. So that's the law as proposed. Single-use plastic bags remain banned, will propose to be banned, with the exceptions of the contamination and the live animal, live fish exception. and paper bags may be dispensed without charge or penalty. That is much more similar, by the way, for the record, to the Southampton town regulation, as opposed to other ones that were perhaps more far-reaching.
We're going to go around the board, ask board to make comment if they wish. Or they can make comment when they vote. Mr. Keyes, thank goodness you're the first guy to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow board members and ladies and gentlemen. I want to emphasize one thing. It is a ban on single-use bags, not necessarily single-use plastic bags. As Brian mentioned, the permissible bag would be a paper bag clearly marked reusable, recyclable. So there are bags that are not, which would be considered a single-use paper bag, and they would be included in the ban. Most of you probably know, if you guys were here a couple of months ago, how this all started. Back in early January, after talking with several residents and employees about some environmental issues, and one being the nuisance and quality of life issue of the messy plastic bags, which would, stream and foam throughout not only the village, but the thought came to us that the bags from the village, where are they going? We distribute throughout the village probably 200,000 to 300,000 single-use plastic bags in our tiny little village. That's a significant number, so though we're a small village to us, that this, it told us that we can make a difference if we were to impose a ban. We have other projects that we hope to work on. I'm getting ahead of myself, I realize that. So in early January, after talking with residents, we formed a PEP committee to protect the environment in Patchogue. Listed several projects which we'd like to work on. The first we considered the most serious one, which would be the banning of these plastic bags. I'm not going to shout out the members' names again, but there's about 7 or 8 of us on the committee who did research, some studies, saw an extremely influential film which really educated us quite a bit, and we learned several things. And number one, this ban isn't necessarily uncommon. I mean, when we learned that there was a ban in Bangladesh and China and throughout the whole world, it's, we're not as groundbreaking as, some people thought we're just looking for Patchogue to get in the papers. I don't think we have to get in the papers by banning plastic bags. We're pretty significant right now. I think the board's proud of what we've accomplished now. So we learned that this is not really anything that's uncommon, but could be significant effects on the environment. And so after doing research and studies and deciding that yes, we should do something, we did formulate a bill. In fact, we formulated probably 6 or 7, because throughout many discussions, Executive Director David Kennedy from the Chamber, extremely helpful and cooperative, and he fed to me Chamber's needs, Chamber's requests. We heard from many residents as well. Extremely supportive residents, and one thing I learned just from talking to people, and one thing what I wanted to do in the beginning was hopefully change some people's mindsets. And I'm hearing people tell me now more and more that when they go to the store, and I'm not saying this what we've done has anything to do with it, but it's been talked around the village quite a bit. People go to the store now, if they're only getting 2 or 3 items and maybe have forgotten their bag, they tell the clerk, keep your bag, pick up the 2 or 3 and walk out. I find myself doing that more and more. I tried doing it with a week full of groceries. That didn't work out too well. But people are starting to, get on board to this kind of thing and getting used to the idea and thinking in their heads that, yeah, this is something good that we work together on. This could be, we can make a difference. And I think that I see it as more and more, it was kind of a metamorphosis for me, I must admit, but I see it more and more as a goal-oriented community project. If we can get all the merchants on board, as I said, many residents seem to be on board from conversations I've had. There are many letters that we didn't receive in time that cannot be considered for the vote, but I can tell you that in many verbal conversations, this has been something where I've really got nothing but, full support verbally. And so, obviously, Mr. Mayor, I would advocate this, but I guess I've left something out of it.
What is the date?
Yes, thank you. One of the things that we did to soften it, as Attorney Egan mentioned, we eliminated the mandated fee. We made an exception for a store like J&J Bait and Tackle. and we've extended the implementation date to Labor Day 2016. So we're talking about a year and a half. Now, word first went out probably January of 2015, you know, the unofficial word, but we let everybody know that this is what we were looking to do. David, I think, sent letters out to all chamber members. So we're talking 19, 20 months, I guess, of notification that stores have had. And so the proposed implementation date would be Labor Day 2016.
Any comment?
Just very briefly, you know, being in small business, you know, my whole life, a family business, I took the opportunity to, you know, think about it a little bit, you know, how it would impact small business and how it would also impact, you know, people who, you know, not the merchants, but the shopper, you know, how it would impact them, you know, and so I spoke to a lot of customers of mine who come in who really don't need a plastic bag or a paper bag at my shop, but I just asked them, you know, what their input was, and it was quite interesting, the feedback that I got. And to be honest with you, most people are pretty much for doing something, you know, about the environment and these plastic bags, and you know, how they pollute the environment and the waters and stuff like that. So, you know, then speaking with Mayor Pontieri the other day, you know, you talk about the less fortunate and the people who are walkers and who do shop, and you know, so you feel for them also. So it was a long process, and I had to really think about which way I'm going to vote eventually tonight. But you know, it was interesting to say the least. But you know, the way people feel about it, and the way I was feeling about it. And I don't say anything changed my mind or anything like that, or the people I spoke to, but I think it's a great thing, and I think it's going to be a good thing for Patchogue to be the lead on this. So that's just how I feel about it.
Mr. Ferb.
I have 2 points of view. First of all, I don't believe that plastic bags are the problem. I think people are the problem. I think that I've been recycling for about 50 years. I collect the plastic bags under my sink. No, there's no such thing as a single-use plastic bag in my house. I take the plastic back to the cleaners. The litter that we see is because people abuse the environment. And I know we can stop them by taking the plastic bags away from them, and all of us, okay? But we disadvantage all of us, because plastic bags are a very cheap and convenient device for carrying things home from the store. I too, Joe, turn down the bag if I have just a few items. The second, my second objection is, I believe it's Title 27 of the state of New York, is a law that was passed in 2009 and implemented in early 2010, revised over the last couple of years with amendments that went into effect on March 1st this year. It's much more comprehensive than what we're talking about. It deals with plastic bags, it deals with the plastic bags from the cleaners, it deals with the plastic bag from the paper that's thrown on the porch. It allows recyclable plastic bags. Sal came into the meeting tonight with a recyclable plastic bag. We should bring it out. So I think that what's missing is education, better recycling activity, some enforcement, and some creative ideas. So I'll vote.
I would just like to say that plastic bag was blowing down the street when I found it. And it just seemed fitting that it just said 100% recyclable on it. So I just had to bring it in and show the board what, you know.
It was just waiting to be recycled as it blew down the street.
Yeah,
It's a decomposable plastic.
it was actually blowing down the road in front of my shop, and I went out and picked it up, and I was getting ready to put it in the dumpster when I actually read what it said on it. So it
It's
was
a
just
decomposable plastic.
Biodegradable.
All plastic
It
bags,
was biodegradable.
almost all plastic bags are recyclable. There's a special kind of
Yeah.
plastic bag that, there's a couple of kinds, but one of them decomposes to neutral chemicals, not even made of plastic. It's made of flour or something like that.
Jack? That'd be great. No. That's the emotional comment.
Yeah, it's, it's a difficult question here because we all want to do what's best for the planet. And we also have to look at the people who are in the village and who this affects most. So I will reserve my thoughts until I vote.
Well, I just wanted to say again that change happens slowly, but it has to start somewhere. And we've seen a lot of things the last 20, 30, 40 years that society has changed, what they do, and it starts somewhere. I certainly have concern for people maybe who are walking, as Paul's pointed out to me, but I think that the retailers can do something here. I know that when I buy those bags for about $1 at the grocery store, and some of the grocery stores will give you a nickel. So you use that bag 20 times, you get your $1 back. And they're actually much nicer to carry things in than those little plastic bags. So I think that it's a good thing. I hate seeing the plastic bags in the trees. And when you talk about, what was the number, Joe? 600,000?
About 300.
300,000 in our 2.2 square miles. Just look at what those numbers must be, in the surrounding community. So I think it's a good thing. The new version addressed some of my concerns. I wasn't really fond of the 5 cents. I know that that's been enacted in other communities, but I just don't think we're in the business of telling retailers what to sell a bag for. It just rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm glad that that's been removed. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I applaud the discussion. I think that it's done great things for where we're going as a board and as a village. I think it's been an eye-opener for me, all of the information that was given to us and that Joe presented to us. I personally have a hard time with the ban. To have a ban, to me, means that we've failed in having discussions, that we've failed in educating the public, that we've failed in allowing people to make their own decisions. I am a hopeless recycler, cloth bag user. I wash them once a week. Every time you open a car door, one flies out. But that was my decision. It's my decision to do that. It's my decision not to put fertilizer on my lawn. It's my decision not to drive a high horsepower car or to invest in coal-fired electric plants. But it's my decision. And I respect that decision. And I respect other residents' decision to do or not to do. So I struggle with that. I also feel that we should not ban something when we don't have a clear alternative. 3 mil plastic bag. You say now we have islands in the oceans the size of Rhode Island with 1 mil plastic bags. To me, that means that the island's going to be 3 times bigger because people aren't going to use plastic bags that they're taking with them, and that's it. The paper bag, I come from the paper industry. It's horrible. Paper making is horrible. Recycling paper is horrible. Energy just uses so much energy. I can't possibly imagine that that's an alternative. So until we come up with a economical, social economical solution, I'm not in favor of this ban. Thank you.
Do a motion? Motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passed. Thank you.